Hi, welcome to Survival Defense Lab. You guys have probably already seen my initial review on the Athlon Argos BTR, and today we're going to do a side-by-side comparison with the Vortex Viper PST. These two scopes have been compared a lot since the Argos has hit the market, but I haven't really seen a side-by-side comparison, and I know a lot of people have been asking for one, so I'm going to provide my own non-professional, non-expert comparison, and then let you decide for yourself if the Athlon scope really lives up to all the hype. So we're going to start with the Athlon Argos BTR, which is a 6-24 by 50 scope, just like the Vortex Viper PST. I'm going to do a tall target test, which for those of you who don't know, you set up a target at a known distance, and then you shoot at a spot, you get a good group, you adjust about 10 clicks, and you fire at the same spot again, and you're going to, of course, expect your shots to be off, but there should be an expected known value of how far they should be off, and you compare that expected value with the known value you get from comparing the two groups. And then we're going to repeat the same process with the Vortex Viper PST. So here we go. But before we look at the results of the tall target test, let's look at a few other characteristics that are really important to people. First, glass clarity. If you look here on the image, you can see that both have really clear glass. And often this can be subjective, but if you look on the image towards the edge, I believe that the Athlon is clear pretty much all the way up to the edge. You see a little tiny bit of blurring coming off. When you're firing the weapon and when you're using the scope, it's not really there. However, with the Vortex, I can see a lot more blurring coming in. Again, the glass in the Vortex is very clear. This isn't some crappy Barska. The glass is good. They're both great, but I'm going to have to give this one to the Athlon. Now, another characteristic, glass brightness. You look at the image, obviously Vortex. Hands down, Vortex is a brighter image than the Athlon. Again, the Athlon's not bad. You can see through it clearly, but the Vortex wins this one clearly. Although, again, the Athlon is good, Vortex is clearly the winner here. Another concern for a lot of people with their optics is the solidness of the click. Does the click have some wiggle in it, or does it click and just stay right there and it only moves when you're going to the next click? Well, the Athlon clicks do have a little bit of wiggle. Not enough to make me worry and think that maybe I did some weird 0.0001 of a mil when I turn the click, but there is a little bit of wiggle there, and I know that's going to bother some people. However, it doesn't bother me. Now, the Vortex, the clicks are solid. They click, they stay. There's nothing else to say about that. Solid clicks. So this one goes to the Vortex. Finally, what we've all been waiting for, the results of the tall target test. All right, so here are the shot groups. On the left, you have the Athlon Argos shot groups, and on the right, the Vortex Viper shot groups. So let's find the average middle of the group and then do the measurement from there. Now, as you can see, the measurements turned out to be 18.125 inches for the Athlon and 16.375 inches for the Vortex, and that's just because one was in milliradians, the other was in MOA, but that's okay. So we went ahead, we did the math. We'll show it here on screen, and as you can see, drum roll please, I'll probably edit one in. The winner is the Athlon Argos BTR with a correction factor of 0.99. Now, very narrowly beats out Vortex. And honestly, if you had somebody who's a better shot, several guns, several data points, you're probably going to find they're both really close. And this just happens to be a weird little bit that in this one test, the Athlon beat out the Vortex. But what we can say from this one test is that the Athlon and the Vortex track similarly, and they're both really close to being perfect on their tracking, which is, in the opinion of most experienced shooters, the most important thing in a scope. So yes, the Athlon wins the tracking in this comparison. However, both scopes track nearly identically and nearly perfectly. So what we can say for sure, even though this is one simple comparison, is that the Athlon tracks just as well, if not a little bit better than the Vortex. So, in our Showdown of the Century, Athlon has 2 points and Vortex has 2 points. So to break the tie, we're going to talk about a factor that should not normally be a tiebreaker, but is important, and that's price. Now, you need to be willing to spend good money on your equipment. You don't want to cheap out, especially if you're competing or hunting, really anytime you're going to use a firearm. You want to make sure you have good quality equipment, and that oftentimes requires a good chunk of change. Now, the Vortex Viper, the price varies. However, you're going to find it probably around $900. That's usually a good average price you're going to find. The Athlon Argos BTR goes for $380 on the market right now. That's about a third of the price of a Viper. That price difference is significant and gives the Athlon Argos a huge benefit. I talked about why it's so much cheaper in my last video. Now, have they created a scope that beats out the Vortex Viper PST? For the price, the Athlon is far and away the better choice. You sacrifice very little, if anything, in brightness and clarity or any of the other important features. You don't sacrifice anything in tracking, and you get this great scope. And to me, that just puts Athlon in its own class of scope and really makes it a smart choice for anybody, not just the budget shooter. So here are my final thoughts. First, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who likes to go shooting good quality firearms with good quality equipment. But at the same time, I've got a budget, and so I'm looking for equipment that doesn't break the bank, but also isn't cheap. I've made those mistakes, as you can see in the video, and I don't want to make them again. And fortunately, I was given a great opportunity to take a leap of faith and be an early adopter with the Athlon. I'm extremely happy that I did. It's a great quality scope. For a third of the price you're going to have to pay to find another scope like it. And so I say get it. Athlon not only provides a great product, but you're also going to be dealing with a great team. When they heard that I was doing this video, they reached out to me, and here's the conversation we had. They love Vortex. They respect them. They've used them as a standard during their development process, and they're really interested to see how this turns out. Fortunately, it shows that their product meets the standards and the goals that they've set for it to meet. So, in the end, the Athlon Argos, great scope, stands up to the competition, performs well, and you can't go wrong with getting this scope at the price that it's priced at. And thanks again for watching. We at Survival Defense Lab appreciate it, and as always, stay awesome.